Okay, so this is a lecture on the development of Hinduism. And development of Hinduism is one of the things that also comes out of that period that we were talking about with the emergence of the caste system. Now, if we go back to um, very, very early in this period, so we're talking about like right after 2500 BC, religion then was pretty typical. It was polytheistic, it was nature oriented, it was contractual in nature, meaning that if you performed a ceremony properly, then you got whatever the ceremony was for. And it was not concerned with spirituality or anything like that. It was concerned with practical benefits. The local gods that were there before the Aryans were mostly earth deities and fertility gods and goddesses. But when the Aryans come down, their gods were mostly elemental gods. In other words, sky gods and gods of the atmosphere rather than like agricultural gods. So they kind of take over. And what's weird is this is very, very similar to what happens in ancient Greece at almost the exact same time when the Dorians invade and conquer the Mycenaeans. In Greece, though, at no time can we say that religion was very concerned with people's morality or spirituality. Um, your earthly actions or attitudes had no bearing on what happened to you after death either, and so Greek religion was not a particularly deep religion, we might say. But in India, even though some of the circumstances were similar, Hinduism emerges as a very, very different religion. And it focuses on the concepts of samsara and karma. Now, Hinduism is centered on the idea that all beings capable of thought had an immortal soul. And this soul passes through a cycle of rebirth, which is called samsara, and a succession of lives until one achieves liberation. When this happens, you enter a state called moksha, which is a freedom from rebirth. Now, during your life, the morality of your actions is called karma. And this is a little bit different from our sort of pop psych idea of karma, where you're sort of hoping that karma hits somebody the next day or whatever. That's not how it actually works. Karma determines the status into which you'll be born the next time around. And there's a whole scale of possibilities from the lowliest sentient creatures, small organisms or whatever, to the greatest and richest people, and a whole spectrum of insects and animals and stuff all the way through all kinds of people, all the way up to greatest and richest. And this basic philosophy is kind of tied into, and it reinforces the inequality of the caste system, because powerful people were that way because they had maintained good karma in multiple previous existences. But it also gave hope to people who were lowly and poor because they could improve their status in the next life by having good karma in this life. Now, karma was not all created equally, or actions, of course, are not all equal. So, helping an old lady across the street is going to generate you good karma, but it's not going to outweigh the bad karma that's generated by killing somebody. So it's sort of this overall tally or count of your good and bad deeds, sort of ranked, that determines your karma. Now, the ultimate goal was not to get wrapped up in the cycle of rebirth, but rather to achieve moksha. Good deeds and sort of righteous practices were governed by something called dharma. And basically, this was the duties of your caste. And fulfilling your caste duty was the easiest way to achieve good karma. So you can see how this is tied into the caste system. Don't rock the boat, do your thing, stay in your lane, be the best that you can possibly be, the best member of your caste that you can be, and you'll generate good karma. Now, moksha could only be obtained by becoming one with the universe. And there's various ways to do this. But they all call for de-emphasizing the material world in some way. One way to achieve this was through leading a monk-like existence, hiding out in the woods, in the mountains somewhere, denying all desires. And look, that includes food, water, human contact, or anything. And this kind of existence was almost impossible to do in the city, so you went way out in the middle of nowhere where you weren't tempted really by anything. And it's kind of a single-minded pursuit of kind of oneness with the universe through constant denial and constant meditation. And so generally these people sit there and meditate all day. and eat and drink the absolute bare minimum, which generates some bad karma because they're given into their desires, but they're not overeating, so that's good karma. People who manage to live like this, even today, are thought to have supernatural powers, because this is not something that is easy to do, obviously. So that's sort of the basic framework of Hinduism. Now, in the 500s BC, two new religions emerge which really impact Hinduism, and they're Buddhism and Jainism. Now, both of these religions rejected any kind of divine role in your samsara or karma, just at the time when in Hinduism was starting to emphasize gods. And look, if you think about it, individuals are responsible for their own salvation. We're responsible for our own actions, although originally only monks were thought to be capable of reaching that state. Jainism placed a great emphasis on ethics and nonviolence, a concept called ahimsa, which prohibits the destruction of any life form, even bugs, fleas, ants, whatever. So you won't find Jains being farmers, for example, because by tilling the soil, they're going to be killing worms and other organisms. Buddhism also advocated nonviolence, but its main idea was that all life includes suffering, and your suffering comes from craving. In other words, we suffer when we don't have things that we want. Now, craving can be eliminated, and good thinking, proper speech, good conduct can improve your karma. The ultimate escape, though, in Buddhism, which is nirvana, can only be achieved through intense meditation. Now, we may talk about these a little bit more later, but it's weird because Hinduism gives birth to both of these, and then both of these have a big impact on Hinduism. So we've got a Hinduism part 2 coming up here in a second, so I'm going to stop this one.